It's such a great space, and I think your platform really creates kind of the space to do that, which doesn't exist right now, to kind of have that space to go after those contracts. I think the added vetting process that you've added that really makes it super compelling. I'm super excited to see kind of where your platform goes. The last thing I kind of want to talk about here is when we talk about, I think there's an interesting concept here that we kind of stumbled upon, and that is a lot of times we have these great initiatives that come from the top that are, hey, we want to spend $1 billion with minority supplier businesses. The other one I think of that probably resonates with our audience is, hey, I'm going to reach 50% gender equity in the next 5 years. Now, I'm familiar with the second one and customers we've talked with. That goal oftentimes is mathematically impossible. It's less about it being well intended and more about based on your based on the number of hires you have and the number of people leaving this company, we would have to be in a really bad situation to reach that goal. When we talk about the spending $1 billion with minority suppliers, it seems like it's a great initiative. Your platform helps put it into those tangible steps. But what are those steps that you would recommend for a company looking to spend more with minority suppliers? What are the steps they need to take in order to create a better process?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of steps. One, having a process to be able to identify um, diverse companies that are ready to scale. And when I say ready to scale, that means they have the resources, they have the capital, and they have the experience. Because if someone came to you and I and said, we're going to give you a $500 million opportunity, well, that's great, but I don't have the capital, I don't have the resources. Um, and so that's one. The other thing that they have to do is start getting strategic versus tactical. And what
Okay.
I mean by that is, let's say that the big crave now is electronic vehicles.
Mhm.
And so I need EV power machines, for the stations. Well, if they came to you and I and said, over the next 3 to 5 years, we want to deploy, 3,000, power stations throughout the West Coast or the East Coast. And now they want to partner with you to get you ready to be able to to do that business. So think about it over a 3 to 5 year period versus just a transaction. Because what they do today is they say, hey, there's an opportunity, here's an RFI, here's an RFP. Can you meet that criteria? That's not going to get you there. You need to have a more strategic process. Let's say that you want to start a media company, a broadcast company. Well, wouldn't it be great if um, Apple TV or NBC came to you and said, I want to partner with you to build a podcast on a global platform, and we're going to invest in this together.
Mhm.
Now, when you go and talk to that venture capitalist, oh, they're going to throw money after you because you already have a partner, you already have a contract, you already have a strategic plan. That's what they need to do. And that's where corporate America always does that.
Mm,
But it has to be, that's why I don't even like the term supplier diversity. I
interesting.
like it diverse businesses. Supplier diversity is transactional. I'm going to buy 1 million widgets and I'm going to carve out 200,000 of those widgets for a diverse company. That's transactional.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus saying, let me see about your creative thinking. And here's my problem. Let's work on how we solve that. Oh, well, you don't need 1 million widgets. Based on our creative design, you only need 500 widgets to do the same thing. So those are the things that for them to scale because you can't do it on a transaction, PO by PO basis.
It has been reflected in my own experience talking with procurement officers who run minority supplier programs. A lot of times it is very transactional. It's how can we do this? And I think if you try to speak to strategic, like, oh, we can start here and build this, and then we can, it's like their eyes almost glaze over sometimes where it's like, I'm here to buy things. I'm not interested in building. So I think this is such an important topic for folks to hear and how to grow.
Well, think about this. I mean, we call it the influencer strategy,
Mm,
or we call it so. And I'll share with you about the summit that we have every year at the appropriate time. But the influencers are the folks that are actually making the
mm,
decisions. So if you're sitting around the table with them versus the procurement person that already said, "Hey, we're going to go down this path. Go see how you can get a better price. you can get, better service, et cetera. But actually having those executive meetings saying, where are you going over the next 12, 24, 36 months? And how can I help you get there? Those are the discussions that you're going to build a sustainable business.
Well, just so you know, Eric, I'm taking notes, and I will be I will be using that in my own business. Once again, thank you so much. It's time for our closing question. I hope you're ready. It is, what is the missing piece in diversity, equity, inclusion? Obviously, we know there isn't just one piece. There are a lot of things that have to come together for things to accomplish. But in your opinion, what would be the missing piece?
I think there's a couple of missing pieces. So I'll try to just be pretty precise. The first one is at the corporate level, have a diverse leadership team. And because that's both at the C suite and the board level.
Mhm.
Because by doing that, you're going to have the diversity of thought. You're going to have a different lens in terms of how you're going to move your company. So that's number one, is just that leadership team has to be diverse. Number two is have those strategic conversations with companies as a trusted partner, not as a transaction. So I'm looking for a number of trusted partners, and that could be, from, a podcast to, a restaurant to a hotel. It doesn't matter, but having those strategic conversations, just like you do with any other partner that you have. And when you think about that, that's going to change the landscape in terms of how you actually close the economic divide. The final one is you need to leverage technology
Mm.
to be able to reach everybody in the complex and global world. So if you think about when you think about global intellect, I need to be able to find a diverse company anywhere around the world without leaving my chair. Okay. And that's gonna get us there.
Yeah.
So think about, if we talk about 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about the metaverse. And they're going to want to be able to find a diverse company that has a manufacturing facility in Ghana. And I want to be able to visit that facility and not have to travel. So we're going to get further and further behind if we're not being part of the new technology wave that's happening. So to me, it's a complex answer. I know is a very precise question.
No, it's a simple question with a complex answer. I think that, as the best questions are, I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's never just one. It's a combination of a multitude in different degrees. So I think that was fantastic. Eric, thanks again so much for being here. Before we jump, are there anything you want to tell our listeners, anything you got coming up, or where can they find you?
Yeah, so I would like to share you. We have an annual conference that we give called the Global Intellect Summit. And we actually have it in New York in June, and we actually do it at the NASDAQ. So we actually ring the NASDAQ bell, and then we have a full day summit. And we talk about strategic partnerships, we talk about access to capital, we have panels on mergers and acquisitions and IPOs, and then we highlight what we call trailblazers. So, for example, this year we had a gentleman by the name of Jim Lowry, who is just an icon, as everybody calls him, the GOAT in diversity and inclusion. He was the first Black partner at McKinsey. He was the first Black partner at Boston Consulting Group. He's written 2 books, one called The Change Agent.
Oh
The year
yeah.
before that was Susan Taylor from Essence Magazine. She got the award. Okay, and so what we do is we have a full day starting at 7:30. We end it at 10 p.m. talking about those issues and how do we actually address them over the next 365 days. So we come up with what we call these big ideas. And I'll just share one with you. One is, how do we build the next $1 billion diverse company? How do we take the next diverse company public? Those are the big ideas, and that can go on. We have about 5 or 6 of them, but that's where you can find us. I mean, obviously our website, theb2t.com, and you'll see, the big ideas. You'll see the videos of what happens at our event, and it'll be our 4th annual event at the NASDAQ. We try to cap it at about 120 people. We exceeded that a little bit. We went to about 150, but we want to keep it very tight. in terms of size, but it's all the C-suite board members, leaders in their industry, universities, presidents from HBCUs. It's a cross segment of the leaders around the world and across different industries to be able to have their input in terms of how do we actually solve this problem.
Well, Eric, fantastic. Thank you for that. Um, any final thought? Where can people find you if they love the way you're talking? Just like I love this conversation. How can they get more of your wisdom?
Just send something to info@b2t.com and it will come to me.